challenge.
Recording.
Thank you so much, Laura. And today, this is our Ask Me Anything session where really, before we dive into the prepared slides, I just want to frame today's session is that it's about you guys, the audience, to ask questions about the Blue Object Management Accelerator, to understand how it connects to the needs of our mission partner, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, and also learn about how your company can leverage this program to both go commercially and in the defense market. So we'll walk through a short overview of the program and then spend a good amount of time in the Q&A portion of our hour-long engagement. So with that, you can see our management challenge agenda today. We'll start with just as the welcome agenda that we just had, the welcome overview that we just had. We'll have a brief overview from the on-ramp hub. We'll talk a little bit about DIU and the prize challenge, and then we'll go into the nuts and bolts of the program. And then the final half hour we will dedicate to open Q&A. And so with that, I'll turn it over to LJ. So the Blue Management Accelerator is you're partnering with Defense Innovation On-Ramp Hub out in Hawaii, who supports our mission partner, INDOPACOM, and they've been great partners to us in previous iterations of this program, and so we're looking forward to working with them again this year. And so with that, LJ, if you wouldn't mind spending 5 minutes reviewing this slide.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks, Jacqueline. Truly appreciate that. Hello, everyone. My name is Larry Jordan. I go by LJ for short, and I am the ecosystem engagement lead for the On-Ramp Hub here in Hawaii, which is really just a fancy way of saying that I handle founder onboarding and intake and coaching, as well as mission partner engagement and DIU transition program support. The On-Ramp Hub here in Hawaii serves as an open front door for commercial and dual-use companies and talent to engage, support, and work with Department of Defense, DIU, and the broader defense innovation community of entities, or DICE, primarily here in the Indo-Pacific. We serve as a trusted and accessible point of entry for stakeholders across industry, academia, and the DoD for potential inclusion of capabilities into the Indo-Pacific experiments, exercises, and operations. On the slide, you'll see that we're located in wonderful downtown Honolulu. So please stop by to help collaborate and work with our service members out here. That said, over the next 60 to 90 days, the On-Ramp Hub will achieve full operational capability at a new location just a few blocks away from our current one. This state-of-the-art facility will provide an even better visitor experience, focus on multi-entity collaboration and solving the wicked challenges that exist for our service members here in the Indo-Pacific. That's really all I have at this point in time, but mahalo, and any questions that you have would be more than willing to answer at the appropriate time.
Great, thank you so much, LJ. So the Blue Object Management Accelerator is run by an organization called DIU, also known as the Defense Innovation Unit. They are a DoD program office that exists to bring commercial technology into the hands of the warfighter faster. They have regional representation throughout the U.S. One of the ways DIU helps accelerate this adoption is through their accelerator programs. And so through these programs, companies have the ability to conduct customer discovery, gain knowledge of doing business with the federal government, gain access to a trusted network of venture capitalists, and also have the opportunity for experimentation and testing. And for this program, Decisive Point has been the delivery partner for the past 7 iterations, working across mission partners serving PAC Fleet, PAC AF, SOCOM, AFRL, NAVI-4, and now for our first time with a combatant command Indo-Pacific, INDOPACOM rather. So out of the 82 teams that we've worked with, companies have gone on to raise $932 million in private capital and $253 million in non-dilutive capital. And you're going to hear from one of our alumni teams here in just a little bit. I would now like to introduce Meg Saunders from DIU, who will share a bit more about the prize challenges, which is a brand new element of this year's program. With that, I will pass it over to Meg.
Thanks so much, Jackie. Hi, everyone. My name's Megan Saunders. I'm an early stage program manager aligned with our AI/ML portfolio here at DIU. So the DIU prize challenges are competitions that award non-monetary and monetary prizes to recognize advanced technology achievements in the dual use space in particular. It's a streamlined process intended to serve as a low barrier entryway for non-traditionals trying to do business with the department. The DIU Prize Challenge, while not a direct acquisition pathway, is a competitive mechanism that allows for follow-on FAR or non-FAR-based contracts to be awarded directly to winners, or in this case, companies selected to participate in the accelerator cohort. We categorize our challenges into two paths: growth or rapid acquisition, which streamline the acquisition process through in-person demonstration events. These typically have an identified transition pathway for technologies identified through the programming, and the other being scouting or market research-based challenges, which offer our DoD mission partners insights into emerging technologies through the prize competition process. We're maximizing the benefits in pairing prize challenges with the accelerator this year by awarding selected companies a portion of the prize pot to cover the cost of participating in the accelerator and providing a pathway to potentially transition technologies post-program. Back over to you, Jackie.
Thank you so much, Meg. All right. So our mission partner for this program is the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, or INDOPACOM, and they are responsible for ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific, a mission that depends heavily on decision superiority, readiness, and interoperability with allies. So the accelerator is designed around INDOPACOM's problem set, meaning that if you're accepted, you'll be working closely with the challenges that matter most to the operators in this theater today. With that said, I'd like to introduce Kanai Gooding, who works within the Chief Digital Office within INDOPACOM, and he can provide a little bit of overview on background as the mission partner. Kanai, you have the floor for a few minutes if you'd like.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Sorry. So I'm actually on vacation.
It's a disaster, this whole idea.
Sorry, apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm actually on vacation, so I'm like passing through Billings right now, so not really in the work mindset. But I'll give a brief overview of our problem set here. Let me know if I go over time, Jackie.
Okay.
We have a problem with identifying, essentially keeping track of our own assets within the theater. We are currently doing this basically the analog method through information and just emails between action officers at the different commands. What we'd like to transition towards is a data-centric platform to keep assets and all of our blue assets and objects and the ontology available at all times. Is this what you're looking for, Jackie?
Yep, this is great.
Okay. So to kind of kick this off, we have what's called Blue Object Management problem. And that is going to be a
we just lost you on audio. If you can unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry, I'm not sure how I got muted there. So the Blue Object Management problem is we're essentially looking for a large ontology to match our to basically keep track of all our assets in the theater, all of our order of battle, et cetera, et cetera. Specifically from this accelerator, we're looking for some database innovation, and we're looking for some multimodal data types of fusion to kind of help build the groundwork for this larger technical problem. I think we'll get more into it later in the slides, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. This is great, though. I appreciate you being able to join our session today. And so, as Kanai mentioned, the program is designed to solve for better tracking and management of assets, essentially making sure commanders and operators have the right information at the right time. And so we're focusing in two areas, and the first being synthetic and non-traditional data generation for decision superiority. And that's essentially, as Kanai mentioned, creating validated data from both traditional sources, such as like ISR, as well as non-traditional sources such as social media or economic indicators. And then the second focus area is around AI-ready multimodal data infrastructure. So that is tools and architectures that fuse this data, which make it usable at the edge and enable human-machine teaming at scale. And so here are some of the technical capabilities that you must be able to address. And the required capabilities are that you must be able to specifically have a feasibility rapid a prototype that's ready for field testing. And then here are some additional desired capabilities such as multimodal data fusion, real-time AL, ML, driven signal detection, classification, contextualization, different data frameworks, things that are scalable and interoperable across different database architectures, and things that are ready for more of a large-scale implementation. And here is the program timeline. The timeline is fairly straightforward. The application will close September 5th. The kickoff is in late September, and you'll participate in a 12-week hybrid program. So there'll be both virtual and in-person events. And our culminating event will be a demo day in Hawaii in early December. Here's some of the required eligibility. So you must be a U.S. small business or a non-traditional defense contractor, and you must have a demonstratable prototype by the end of the program. And this is just a little bit about our evaluation criteria. So we look across 4 key areas when we're scoring these applications. 1, around the feasibility of the solution. 2, being the team composition. 3, being the problem significance. And then lastly, the business model. And then here are just some additional requirements for the program itself. So you must, like I mentioned before, you must have a working capability by demo day. We will have both in-person and virtual programming, which we will be expecting you guys to participate, the cohort teams to participate in. Those 3 in-person planned events that we have are 1, a pitch event at SF Tech Week in California. 2, participation in FCA TechNet, as well as mission partner trial demo in Hawaii. And then thirdly, a demo day in Hawaii. And you also will want to be registered on sam.gov prior to the start of the program. And here are just a couple of the program benefits. So it is defense-specific programming. There is exposure to venture capital investors. There's opportunities to test directly with the DoD stakeholders, and as well as collaborate with other cohort companies. And as Meg mentioned earlier, there is a $500K prize pot that we will be able to leverage for this program, which is a great benefit to the cohort teams that get selected. And then here are just some graphics of some of our in-person events that we've had in the past. And then a couple helpful best practices in terms of the application, which I imagine that's on most people's mind. So a couple key points is you want to clearly communicate your value proposition of your technology. You want to be very specific about your tech differentiation. Make sure that you explain all of your team's great experience, and then make sure you have all of the proper supporting documents uploaded within the application. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Joel Anderson, who is founder of Sierramark. He is one of our alumni teams from our previous accelerator program, to share his experience and a few words about the program impact. So with that, I will turn it over to Joel.
Thank you, Jackie. Just a mic check.
Yep, you're all good, loud and clear.
Awesome. So yeah, I have lots of thoughts on the Propel Accelerator that we participated in. I would say the program itself was really solid. Like honestly, who doesn't like being in Hawaii? And I think that's where this one is being held. And sorry if it's not, but that was also awesome. What we did for our demo day was we ran the first kinetic counter UAS demonstration, I think, in the area that's ever happened. We did it with 3rd Marine Littoral Regiment out at K-Bay, which one was awesome to have a littoral 3 MLR be one of the demo shooters to shoot down drones, but 2, at the most beautiful range I've ever laid eyes on. We went from there straight to 29 Palms just to bring us back to reality. And I would say from a program perspective, the biggest benefits weren't what I actually expected. I figured we'd learn a ton, and we did walk away with a much better understanding of, like, what is the process of going from prototyping to fielding equipment in the sales process. But I think more importantly, what we walked away with were pretty strong relationships with the middle layer that actually, sign and write contracts that are doing acquisitions. I learned that these people often are called like the cold middle, but they actually care about the missions that they're trying to solve for. And we built some strong relationships with them. We figured if we could make their life easier, they'd go to bat for us, and they have. We got out of this program and our connections, we got letters of support, customer memorandums, and a ton of champions that actually mattered and resulted in real contracts. We were invited to a number of exercises and experiments, so many, in fact, that we had to turn down a lot and really prioritize what would showcase us the best. I didn't update the slides here, but like Bali Katan is one that we had to back out of because we couldn't do kinetics, but we were all over the place on other exercises and assessments that have panned out quite nicely for us. As a result of the letter of support we got from stakeholders we met during the meetings at Ensign Propel, we won an open topic SIBR that's now transitioning to a phase 3. We made connections that evolved into secondary and tertiary connections that have netted us contracts and pipeline from SOCOM's PM Counterproliferation, 36 Continued Response Group, A5X, and even a prime contractor that was helping support the program has sole sourced us for a massive opportunity in the Middle East. Frankly, I would say in the course of that program, we learned a lot. We had some great business, generation of opportunities, but the time in Hawaii, we ultimately realized that we had a capability we were framing wrong. And that we could make a big impact on expeditionary operations, which was a pretty critical thing for INDOPACOM. And so we've been capitalizing on, or at least trying to the best of our ability ever since. And I don't think we would have had a successful fundraise that we recently closed or the traction we've had we not have done this program.
Great. I really appreciate your thoughts, Joel, and perspective there. And thank you so much for joining our session today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and so with that, we'll turn it over to questions. I know there are probably folks with a few questions here in this room. No question is too detailed or too broad. So if something's on your mind, you can either throw it in the chat, you can put yourself off mute and ask a question. Again, here's our contact information from a program perspective. Feel free to email us questions as well. And then as another quick final reminder, applications are due September 5th. So we've also dropped the link for applying there with that QR code on the right-hand side. And with that, we will turn it over for our Q&A session. I will stop sharing my screen here, and I'll just open up to questions. What do folks have?
Jackie, we do have a few questions in the chat.
All right. Yep. Let me see if I can start answering them. Okay. Let me start here at the top. How will this session be? Yes, the session will be recorded and available online, so don't worry about that. It will be available on DIU.mil. Will the slide deck be made available? The slide deck will not be made available after the call, but you will have access to stop and play the video, so you will be able to see those slides. How to join the cohort company list. I'm not sure what that question's asking, but if you wouldn't mind clarifying that, I might be able to answer it. Do we have some lists where we could see the pain points or needs of the program? We do have a fairly extensive open call in which outlines a little bit more details on the problem statement as well as the focus areas. But if you have specific questions around whether your technology aligns, we're happy to maybe be more specific via email. If you wouldn't mind just being more specific about your technology and the different pain points you think you're solving for. How is the prize pool going to be divided among participants? That will be completely dependent on the number of cohort teams. At a minimum, we will be accepting 5. Which department or of the DoD it will address any or any specific. So INDOPACOM is kind of a joint command, right? So it's all services, and so we're hoping that there will be engagement across Navy, Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, those folks that support INDOPACOM. Can you give me examples of non-traditional foreign social media and video synthetic data generation of interest? How will the synthesized data be used by end customers? I believe that Kanai is still on if he wants to take that, or I'm also happy to as well. Kanai, did you want to speak to some of the examples of non-traditional data sources?
Yes. I'm sorry, I wasn't letting me unmute there.
Sorry.
Can you state the question again? Sorry.
Yep. So they asked to give examples of non-traditional synthetic data generation of interest. So specifically from the mission partner, and then how will this synthesized data be used by end customers?
Absolutely. Okay, that's actually a fairly easy one. So synthetic data types, we're looking for really any type of data that simulates intel collection. The example we're kind of going along with is SIGINT collection. So that would be like, well, SIGINT's a fairly expansive definition. You can conduct more research into there, but anything along that line, anything along the electromagnetic spectrum, it would like simulate a collector out there in the theater collecting all sorts of signals, whether that be cell phone, radar, encrypted communication, et cetera, et cetera. The point of it would be to then use that to train AI, because of any of that real data is too classified to allow in certain environments. So we're looking for synthetic versions to train AI on.
Great. And then would you want to speak to the specific types of multimodal data that you're most interested in integrating? So whether that's geospatial, sensor-based, IoT, communication feeds, like interested in how the data looks. Kanai, did you also want to speak to the different types of multimodal data?
Sorry, I keep getting muted and can't unmute. Yeah, so multimodal data, it's that's a little more complicated. What we're in the end, this Blue Object Ontology is going to have to be this very comprehensive look of basically every in the final stage, every source we have. So I would, if I was someone thinking about, what can I present? I would think about how to leverage technology and what data sources can my technology combine the best. Because we're looking for almost everything. So it'd be I can think of some very weird examples right now that we're absolutely looking for, but like, if we're trying to get a status of a particular area, there might be a TikTok that's filmed in front of it, and we can combine that with Maxar imagery, overhead satellite imagery to get a better situational awareness of what's happening. It's really any two types of data sources that can be combined in a unique and additive way. So I would think about your own technologies and what you can bring to the table from there.
Great. This is great answers. Thank you so much, Kanai. And so will we be able to provide test data sets or provide demo data for the demo applications? And we are working on that, and we should be able to do so. And And then what are the typical expected team size? You have to be a US small business, so how that is defined. And then how tightly coupled are the two focus areas? If a vendor has an extreme focus and exceptional capability in one but not the other, is there a significant shortcoming? I would recommend speaking to both if you do meet both capabilities. I would say that if you do favor one over the other, that it's expressed, and then you kind of showcase why that is. We will, again, we will have access to both. You will have access to the video, which will have the slides shared. And then can you please share the target size revenue of companies that you're looking to participate in the cohort? Are you looking for new entrants or established small businesses that have already had multiple SBIRs, including phase 1 or phase 2? I would say, please, if you are planning to apply, that it will be required that you're at least, starting that registration with SAM.gov. So that would be the one requirement there in terms of target size. And typically, we have worked with fairly early TRL levels, fairly later TRL levels in these programs. So it really does vary on cohort. What is DIU's position on using synthetic or adversarial data to train systems when real operational data is too sensitive to accessing during development? Is someone from DIU want to take that for a response?
Hey, Jackie, I think Chris just dropped, but I'm sorry. Do you mind repeating the question?
Yeah, it says, what is DIU's position on using synthetic or adversarial data to train systems when real operational data is too sensitive to access during development?
Well, DIU is asking as part of this open call for mechanisms to do so in support of INDOPACOM. So I think that might be pretty straightforward on our position. But happy to elaborate further if you'd like to email us. Our email is prizechallenge@diu.mil, and we can take more specific questions offline here.
Great. Given that this is a prize challenge versus a typical DIU solicitation, can we team with traditional contractors or others or other than small businesses? Meg, if you want to take that for a response.
Sorry, was unmuting. Yes, teaming arrangements are allowed. We require the small business or non-traditional vendor to be the primary applicant and participant. We do want to note too that this program is also designed to be beneficial for those who are specified in the eligibility criteria. And so, yes, teaming is allowed, but we also would like you to be mindful that the cohort is being catered to the listed group within the solicitation.
And then what is the target number of users and the geographic distribution for full-scale implementation to support scalability? Are there specific geographic regions or operational units within INDOPACOM that are the primary target for initial deployment? Kanai, if you have any specific responses to that, you're more welcome to chime in there.
Can you state the question again?
Yeah, sure. What is the target number of users and the geographic distribution for a full-scale implementation to support scalability? And are there specific geographic regions or operational units within the INDOPACOM that are the primary target?
So I'm going to say no. However, if there are specific use cases you all can think of, I think we'd consider that. But obviously, I would say our major focus as far as geographically is in that first island chain, knowing more about what's happening out there. So that, yeah, first island chain. If you don't know what it is, you can do some research. It's yeah, As far as specific units, I would say the non-specificity of units is like actually our implied task here, that we'd like to combine different types of data sources that may just come from very just separate units, very separate collection methods. So I would say no.
Thanks so much. And then there's another question about was asking for pricing unit economics and a revenue split, and asked if they could submit high level price ranging with clear assumptions and a plan to refine them during the accelerator. That is totally appropriate. Says the Blue Object Challenge says you are looking for RF data, cyber data, socioeconomic data, and other OSINT data sources. If you are looking for a solution that tracks assets in INDOPACOM, what do these data sources have to do with asset tracking? Kanai, is there anything specifically you want to address there?
What do these data sources have to do with asset tracking? So in an environment with very in an environment where our normal sources are either being jammed, are being disrupted, or some other way disabled, we're looking for alternative and contingency methods of basically locating our own assets as well as any other assets that might be in the region, kind of like so that we know what may be coming towards our assets. And as far as like the multimodal data fusion can also be used for very much our own data, so that we can more proactively combine different types of data sources. For example, if we know that a part for a certain type of, well, really a certain type of anything is on a ship nearby a place that it needs to be on land, those type of multimodal data combinations can be done quicker, especially if they're not, with systems that are currently interoperable.
Great. Is travel covered separately? Yes, you will have to cover your own travel for this. Let me see what other questions we have. I would look for any other additional documents that need to be prepared for the application. It should be all clearly outlined in the both the application as well as the open call language. Just to confirm, space-to-space data sets are not of interest for this opportunity. Question. And that would be back to you, Kanai.
Yes. So space-based data, I think there's a wide variety there. I think generally, yes, we're interested in space-based data. It depends what I would say specifically, but almost certainly yes.
Okay, and then another question following up from that is the primary bottleneck, the speed of data fusion, the brittleness of integrated new data types, or the cognitive load on the operator trying to make sense of it all?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yep. Regarding the antiquated infrastructure mentioned in the problem statement, could you elaborate on the most significant pain points for INDOPACOM planners today? Is the primary bottleneck the speed of data fusion, the brittleness of integrating new data types, or the cognitive load on the operator trying to make sense of it all?
Okay, yes, that actually makes no sense. Well, those are all very well identified pain points. Those are, I would say, very accurately display our current pain points. I think this accelerator is mostly targeting the cognitive load. And that sort of also kind of hits the technical and the technical implementation of actually combining those systems. So I think it covers both, but it's really to, in the end, solve the cognitive load problem.
Okay. Would a new novel tracking system that can identify individual assets that can help train a model be of interest?
So I think that's combining two of the problem statements, if I remember the problem statements correctly. So I think yes, I would turn that back over to Jackie, whether that would be what the criteria would say about that. But I think generally, as far as INDOPACOM's interest, yes, that would be interesting.
Yep, I would agree with that. And then there should be an RFP link on challenge.gov, and that should be in the open call language. Laura, if you wouldn't mind just dropping that open call into the chat, that way people can access where to find that challenge.gov link. The application is due September 5th. I'm just trying to look through the questions here. Will the government own the IP for the prototype solutions submitted? No. But I will let Meg confirm that as well.
Thanks, Jackie. No, there is no ownership of IP. You can see at the bottom of the open call language that there is an intellectual property consideration section that outlines any sort of IP related clause pertaining to this, but it would be negotiating a limited license solely for testing and evaluation purposes. But there would be no transfer of ownership.
All right, and then to clarify, are you looking for a replacement to existing C2 systems or a database that is used as an input into GCC's M or comparable systems? And it looks like that's already been answered. Okay, great, never mind. It looks like not speaking for DIU, but correct human faces and computer vision alone would not be enough for the problem set. Okay. Right. Can you elaborate on the role synthetic data generation plays in data object management? Kanai, if you want to answer that.
Yes, absolutely. So in the generation of synthetic data, essentially our AI, sorry, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Our AI tools will learn things from that synthetic data that can then be applied to things that may exist in higher classification levels.
Great. I think that covers a majority of the questions in the chat. Let me see. It looks like we just got one more. Can you give some examples of classes of asset types? CMC availability and status is classified. This is all on class accelerator, so there will be no classification to this information. What is required for submission? Just a pitch deck? No, it's a full application. You have to read the open call, and then they'll give you access to the application, which you can fill out. It's a series of questions. We try to make it super streamlined, super simple for you guys to answer. And then please also attach the pitch deck. It's all in the open call language. Any other questions remaining for the group? Does anyone want to go off mute and ask questions? Okay. Can you give some examples of classes of asset types?
I was just asked to unmute, so I'll just ask the question.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by object-based data layer and dynamic smart databases? Is this something that you're specifically thinking about in terms of dynamically editable at runtime or configurable at runtime for data model or integration? Or is this something different?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I think I'm a little less technical than you, based on the way you asked that. But I'll try to give a good example of what the smart database thing we're looking for is. So I'll give you like a more hands-on example so that I can visualize it better. Think about in a database system, it would need to have some type of AI, maybe LLM integration, in order to best solve the question of the operator at the time. What that might be, I'll give like a pretty hard example. Let's say we have a unit out in the field that needs to be resupplied. When the operator asks the question of how can I get that item set there, the database will have to know that it has to go into attributes. And given the size of like all the assets in INDOPACOM's theater, the attribute list would be essentially, it'd be absurd. So what we're looking for is some type of smart configuration of, okay, then from there, we'll need to figure out the square footage of that aircraft, the total weight distribution of that aircraft, and can this aircraft then take this resupply to wherever it is that they go. So it's a pretty complicated ask, and it needs to be, live updated, of course, but that'll all come with data integrations as we build out this huge platform. And I saw one other question that kind of touches on this. That's like, are we looking for a replacement to Geeks? And the answer is absolutely not. We're looking for ways to integrate Geeks into other sources, etc. So this would be more of like a database innovation rather than a replacement to our C2 systems.
Anyone else who wants to take themselves on mute and ask a question? I see one hand, Christopher Yasko.
Hi, this is Chris. Thank you. My question is about Demo Day and the MVP on Demo Day. What
Yes.
environment do you want us to run that in? Would that be your environment at the DIU, the cloud environment, or would it be our own?
Yeah, we would provide the environment as well as the data sets.
So we would be required to install it, run it, test it on your cloud or whatever you provide.
Correct.
Okay, and is there a way for us to get what that is so that we don't, as we pitch our proposal, we know if it's a Microsoft Azure or it's a Google environment or something very custom to the DIU and the DoD?
Yeah, we probably can provide a bit more detail there. I can follow up internally with the DIU team.
Thank you.
So can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So first of all, thanks for this informative session. Very exciting in terms of the challenge that we're tackling here. To kind of follow on from the deployment model. So pure SaaS, cannot be considered because we are required to deploy our solution inside of your enclave, whatever that might be.
Hi, I was unmuted. I'm not sure, Jackie. I might ask you: is this related to like Nipper and like our Indo-PACOM systems, or is this related to like DIU systems?
Well, I mean, so if I were to bring like the pure like a SaaS, multi-tenant solution to the mix, part of our solution, is automatically disqualified? Because I think just based on this conversation, this is something that needs to be deployed inside of whatever the enclave that you guys want to provide.
Yeah, sorry, Greg. This is actually a question for Jackie. Just because I'm the warfighter, so I'm want to make sure I'm framing the accelerator right. Jackie, are you asking for me for a confirmation if this is deployed on Indo-PACOM systems or some type of DIU thing?
Yeah, so this would be something that is in like a test environment. So it wouldn't be deployed on like an actual DoD system. so to speak. It would be a demo of, that given certain data sets, certain conditions for an initial demonstration, if that makes sense.
Okay, so that I'll try to answer Greg's question, and you tell me if I'm saying something bad. It seems like we can at later stages at higher TRLs we can get you deployed in the networks you need to be deployed on, but for now we just want a demonstration of capability.
Yep, absolutely.
So any cloud is fine. It doesn't have to be inside of your enclave.
Correct.
Okay.
Just for your one thing, the Microsoft suite is kind of the government's thing, so that would Azure is always good, but we also have AWS enclaves on our network, so either one if you're looking for the cloud answer.
Okay. I'm just gonna again, I think we're kind of passing each other here. What I'm saying is we already have a solution that's already deployed in our enclave. Can I just use that as a part of the demonstration?
I think that's more of a question for Megan or Jackie.
Yeah, I can't see why not why that would be an issue, but Meg, I'll let you take it as well.
We've done both in the past. So we've let participants host on their own enclave or also plug in if needed to our mission partner environment. So we can work with both.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Jing?
Okay, I have a question. Is the solicitor interested in high performance data transport over the context limit bandwidth environment? Basically, we deliver a solution to enable fast data ingestion across large regions. Over.
Jing, I'm not entirely sure what your question is.
Oh, the question is, we have a solution, data transport solution to accelerate the data transport over contested bandwidth limited environment. Is this kind of solution interest or relevant to this solicitation?
Jing, I would recommend applying to this and then this accelerator program, and then we can determine whether that application would be relevant for this program.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Johan?
Oh, yes, thank you, Jacqueline. One way to reduce operator overload, cognitive load, is to do so through visualization, to carry meanings, to show sensor and fusions of signal and data. Is visualization potentially a part of what DIU is looking for, and can it be the only thing in the submission, or is DIU looking for a complete end-to-end system?
Meg, did you want to speak to that on the DIU front?
Sure. If your solution speaks to a portion of the problem statement, we'd encourage you to apply, just so we could at least see where and how it could be applicable. Ideally, end-to-end solutions are preferable. However, those are not the only ones that will be considered. I'd highly encourage you to review the required and desired functionalities. And we have very minimal required ones specifically for this application to be able to evaluate a broad range of solutions.
All right, Patrick?
Hi. In terms of your interest in AI and ML, is it that you're specifically interested in like natural language queries, or is it using AI ML to maybe deconflict data and provide better Blue Object Management?
Hi, great question. So I think I would say we're not specifically looking for like natural language queries. I think it's much more of a like we're looking for a more complicated or like technically focused. I don't know how to phrase this. I'm trying to think of the words. Sorry, I'm very much on vacation mode. Okay, I think what we're really looking for is much more of a system of access to a larger and more comprehensive like data set than really is normal. So we're looking for some type of solution. The example I gave is kind of towards that natural language, but it's really more broad than that. We're looking for just innovation in that field. So it could be to natural language. It also could be some type of like more specific C2 system that like, or C2 solution, I should say, not C2 system, that like solves some type of specific problem or along that vein. That's all of what INDOPACOM's interest would be. Again, I would refer back to the criteria of the exact DIU solicitation, but that's what INDOPACOM would be interested in.
And then quickly, can you expand upon the target user of these systems? Are they technical people, non-technical people? I would say probably a mixture of both, but I'll let you speak to that.
So definitely a mixture of both. Again, we're looking for, this is going to be a very like large problem set. And the solicitation is kind of a piece of it. So we're looking for at the end, the users are going to be very, very comprehensive, large, a large swath of the INDOPACOM population, basically all of it. I would really focus on making sure your technology is there and your technology or database innovation, or whatever you're focusing on is there. The UI is going to be less important because as we develop it more and more, I guarantee it's going to evolve. Again, refer back to the exact solicitation, refer back to the language solicitation, but at least what INDOPACOM directly is interested in, that's what we would talk to.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, go ahead, Chris. Chris, go ahead.
Hi, this is Chris again. Thank you. And I appreciate all this information. I see several questions up in the chat, which are fair. It talks about the 500K prize pool, and are the contestants that win the proposal, is the money divided equally? Would be the first question. And then the second question is, what's typical? Is it 5-6 companies? Is it 15-20 companies? So you kind of know the target, what we're reaching for.
I can take this question, Jackie. So our intent is to award in 2 phases, I believe, for this accelerator. However, we've left it open-ended to allow for us to allocate prizes how we see fit. What we've typically done is an equal share of the prize pool. However, it is intentionally vague for us to allow for however the mission partner might want to validate those solutions. Again, in all of our accelerators previously, we have done an equal sharing of the prize pool. We specify up to 10 finalists. I think our target range here is between 5 to 10 cohort teams. And those are the bounds that we've set internally for ourselves.
Terrific. Thank you for that detail. It helps.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the group? All right, so it looks like there's 2 additional questions. Is the goal, okay. Is the goal to provide technology to reduce operator cognitive load in their existing workflows? And then can you specifically say if this is for Intel analysts, operators, or planners, and who will be using the output of this solution?
Okay, for that one, I would say any specific user question is almost it's a little bit too specific. The Blue Object Management is really almost for everyone, from co-ops to plans, et cetera, anything. What it's just trying to allow us to do is to be able to answer those questions that as an action officer on the floor, oh, is this asset already there? Is XYZ already there? Is, do we have something over there that can do this? It's almost everyone that will be using this, from technical intel analysts to planners, to the co-ops mod floor, to the jock, to everything. So I would say when you're thinking about a specific use, really, first of all, I'll refer back to the solicitation, but then think of what your technology can solve best for. What INDOPACOM's interested in is we have this massive problem, and we don't expect any one person to solve the Blue Object Management problem themselves, single-handedly. What your solicitation is, it's much more specific in that we're looking for technological innovation in those realms. So think of whatever your technology is, and think about a use case that can benefit most from your technology. And what is your technology the best at, and then apply it to that use case. I hope that's okay. Jackie and Megan always correct me if I'm wrong.
No, this is great. Any other specific questions, please just raise your hand if we didn't answer the question that you might have put in your chat. I tried to get to everyone, but maybe I missed one or two. So please, if you didn't get your question answered, please ask it now. All right. Seeing no additional questions, we will close out our session today. Thank you all for coming. Please also reminder, our application is due September 5th. Make sure you get your applications in. If you still have questions or want to sync with us one-on-one, please just send us a quick note or email. Laura threw the open call into the group chat that you have that. We can follow up with everyone via email with these details just as a reminder. Again, thank you for attending our session, and we hope you have a wonderful afternoon.